This is the Stash, and you're listening to the Business Bottom Line podcast, coming to you from the Jewel City of the Mountains, Greenville, Tennessee. We're in the foothills of the Smokies, talking business with people just like you who are responsible for the bottom line, sharing business tips to inspire, inform, and improve, and turn your bottom line from red to black. Our guest today is Christopher Orr with Tasche and Associates, so let's get acquainted. So tell us who you are and what you do, Chris.
Well, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me. I guess I'm a managing partner with Tasche. Tasche was formed by Community Insurance and Bill Richards when my agency was bought out in 2019, and I've been with Community and Tasche since then, and I kind of manage the Tasche side, which is the senior life and health side, focusing on those approaching retirement at 65 with Medicare and other options.
Okay, all right. So that sounds like a full plate. So several different things, and you have other people that help you with that too.
Yes. If it wasn't for other people, there's no way that we could get through this. But we heavily involved in doing educational seminars, and then of course we help products that provide solutions to people's problems or their options, and so we go with that. But yeah, we got three others besides me that do it.
All right. Well, introduce us to your family. Tell us about your family.
Well, I've been married to my wife Susan for 22 years. We live in Marshtown. She's a teacher. She's been there about 24 years. We have two kids. One's a senior. It's my daughter Lexi, and she's going to graduate with honors this year, and she's actively employed. And I've been employed for about a year and a half now, so I've been real proud of her. My son's going to be a freshman, but he's our athlete. He plays ball, and we travel around watching him. But and he's probably getting ready to get his driver's permit, so that's going to be interesting. But anyway, we enjoy watching him play ball, and of course we're pretty tight knit family, and so we all travel and do that.
Well, so obviously that takes a lot of time, and I'm sure they're both busy with school and work and then extracurricular activities. But what do you guys like to do together? What do you enjoy as a family?
Well, as a family, we do a lot of cookouts. We get together with immediate family doing a lot of cookouts. We do, they enjoy going to the beach. I go some, but they go quite a few times throughout the summer. We do spend a lot of time outdoors. We have a family farm, and we're down there quite a bit. So, I mean, and then, of course, there's ball. We travel, we play ball all year round. So it's pretty busy life.
Okay. So when you say cookout, that gets pretty close to home because you're probably raising what you're eating, right?
Yes, we eat beef, so we enjoy beef, and but we enjoy spending time with doing cookouts, family, and of course having a fire pit and just relaxing.
Yeah, well, farm life is good.
Yeah.
I look back on it from years ago and sometimes wish I was still there.
Yeah, there is some simplicity in it, but there's also some life lessons, life skill sets that I've learned that I hope my kids will take on with them after I'm gone.
Yeah, for sure. It's different than living in town and growing up in town, for sure.
Yes.
So tell me a favorite book. Doesn't have to be recently, but if you've read something recently, what's that? Or what's just a favorite book that you like?
Well, I'm an outdoorsman. I love The Call of the Wild. I read it many years ago as a book project. Recently, we're in the process of building, and we have been reading magazine after magazine on modern farmhouse styles and all that. And recently, I got into investing, and I've been reading cryptocurrency. And so my brothers and I, all of us invest on our own platforms, but we bounce ideas off each other, and I've downloaded a book by Sean Bennett with cryptocurrency right now. So
okay, that's interesting. I can spell Bitcoin, but I don't know much beyond that. So
well, I'm learning. I cannot articulate it here on this podcast what Bitcoin is, but it's a technology that they've come up with that does transactions, and you can invest in that.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So are you an Android or an Apple guy?
I'm an Android guy now, especially with working with this agency. I know we're all big Android users here in the agency, but I used to be Apple. My family's still Apple. And the thing about Apple, their programs on their software and stuff, a lot of times they charge for businesses programs. Androids most of the time do not. And if you lose the phone, it's a nightmare trying to get stuff transferred. You've got to have two different logins, and Android is much simpler.
Yeah.
Much simpler.
Well, yeah, so we've actually converted Chris since he's been here because he wasn't
Yes.
an iPhone guy when he
Yes,
started. And you have had to change your phone time or two.
I think we've gone through two of them since I've been here in 2 years.
Okay. So what's the biggest hurdle that you face in your work every day? Is it people? Is it technology? Is it competitors? What is it that's
The
the hard thing?
One of the biggest thing is time, which is my personal time, but like anybody else's, traveling, covering the area because I drive in, unlike some of the people who live here local. The other one is managing the clients in the way, both from a prospecting aspect and how you communicate with them and how you connect with them, and then on the client side, how do you stay connected? How do you keep up with them? How do you remember them all? We write a lot of people. We help out hundreds of people a year through myself and the other 3 agents here. It's hard. It is a challenge to keep up on, but with the tools and under your tutelage, it's been very helpful. I've seen it improved over the last 2 years, and so it is difficult though. It is a challenge knowing how to communicate, how they like to be communicated with, and they don't necessarily tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They just communicate with you.
Right.
And we have several different platforms coming in, and I'm seeing an increase in seniors approaching 65. They're using multiple platforms. They're not just using one or the other.
That's true.
So it is a challenge.
Yeah, it's not that long ago when people talked about us, and I'm putting myself in this category. Old people don't use technology.
Yes.
That is a misnomer and a misunderstanding because in today's world they do. In fact, if you want to communicate with your grandkids, you have to be using technology because otherwise they won't ever see you or hear you.
So a funny story is my grandmother is still living. She's 95, and she got a jitterbug phone 2 years ago. She has been emailing the last 10 years since 85. At 85, she started emailing and learning how to do that. Passing to my grandfather, she couldn't communicate with us, so she got a jitterbug, and she is texting now. The names are preloaded where she hits a button. She doesn't have to type it in. But so she's doing it, and if she can do it, anybody can do it.
And most are. That's
right.
the thing. But it is important to know how to communicate with people because the challenge is there's lots of ways, and if you communicate the wrong way, they don't hear you because they're not receiving on that platform. So, one of the things we do in the agency is ask people how do they want to be communicated with, because if you don't know that, you're just lost out there and nobody hears what you say.
Well, and most people have a predominant communication platform, and then they may have an alternate one or two.
Right.
The phone's still obviously a way to communicate, but most people are shying away from the phone. If they don't recognize your number or not expecting your call, your chances of catching them is going to be slim.
That's true because there's so many spam calls.
That's
and
right.
People just don't want to answer
That's
the
right.
phone. And I was on one right before this podcast started today.
Yeah.
So let's kind of get a look at you and what you do. What does your day look like? What is it that you're doing? Are you riding around listening to the radio, or what are you doing?
No. We have to solicit and go after or try to get in front of people. We do have some platforms built into the agency through Facebook, LinkedIn, through customer referral base that we get people calling in, website. But we also are doing the educational platforms, and we do mail outs, and we're doing them in the different cities in eastern Tennessee, all over the 11, 12 counties. And that takes up time. You've got to plan that. You got to confirm the RSVPs, then you got to go and do them, and then set the other venues up on the next series. So that takes time, but I continually am trying to figure out the best way to get in front of people at the right time. And there's not a magic formula. There's not a magic formula.
Right.
We do in all different platforms, both personal, social, emailing, mail. Still the traditional mail out. It works. Mailing to turning 65. So, there's various ways. But
so you mean you still go to the kitchen table and take people's information and get them protected across the kitchen table?
To believe it or not, even post COVID, I would say that we are in the homes of those that want us to be at least 40% of the time.
Wow.
Now, it has changed since pre COVID. That number used to be 60% of the time we were doing business at the kitchen table. But, people now are wanting to come to the office. We have a nice office in Greenville, in the Greenville area for people to drive in. It's a short drive for most people. Big, nice conference room. We can do them by phone now. We can do it by text now.
Wow.
The technology has improved since COVID. The companies did that, just like all companies went to working from home versus in the big, tall buildings with overhead. And these companies have adapted and allowed these field agents to start transitioning how they do business. And it's not really the agent, it's the people.
Right.
The people determine how you're going to do business.
Exactly.
And so, but that has that percentage of people that wants to do it at the kitchen table, and we still do it. That saying that we still make house calls like a doctor, which is true, but it is shrinking. It is shrinking in the way that they want to do business.
Yeah. So that's important that you understand how people want to do business, want to transact their business, and then respond with the right solution to that, whatever it is.
Correct. And we give them those options where pre-COVID, I don't know if it was as formidable as that we gave the options. We have, but the telephonic and the texting and the DocuSign and all that electronic processing has come, 2 years has come a long ways with most. Some companies were doing it. All companies are doing it now.
Right.
That's the change.
Yeah, that's the big change. So, we talk about, in the insurance business, we talk about policies and contracts and all that. So how does what you do help people? How does it help the person across the table or across the desk from you when you work with them?
Most people, most retirees, I would say most, no matter what field of study they're retiring from or still working in, see a lot of people trying to decide whether they're going to continue to work and take Medicare or not. They do not they have some ideas of Medicare, but they get bombarded by informational mail to them. They cannot decipher from all the material. The material is so overwhelming. So what I do, or try to do, I just try to simplify their options. And really it is simple. Their options are not, they have many different companies and many different products, but the avenues by which they go down is really narrowed down to 2 or 3. And that's what we try to focus on in the educational seminars, is narrowing down the basic coverages of Medicare, what it doesn't cover. And then it sets up their options, and it limits, or it starts to make sense to the beneficiaries. And we've seen a very good response, even to the people that we don't write that come to the seminars. We've had over 1,000 people RSVP over the last 3 years. Not that everybody showed, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's right. Well, simplicity is always desirable, and in today's world, information overload is kind of attacks all of us. There's just so much information flying around. So if you can simplify things for people, that's certainly a help, because in the end, you're talking about their personal health care, aren't you, when you're talking about Medicare?
You're talking about their backbone of their financial stability, once they nail down their health care and their decisions. And as I said, most people, if they can make a good decision, a lot of people choose to retire sooner than later, but some people don't understand that, or they feel like they're forced to work later because of the health coverage. So we get into group comparison options and stuff like that. But for the most people, and I would say 90+% of people are overwhelmed or confused when they approach the Medicare, because it is a shift from where they were.
Right.
As you know exactly what that's about. It's not group. It's not the way group worked, and so they have to be educated on their options. Now, they decide, and we enroll the product that they decide based on the avenue that they choose.
Right. Well, that is helpful, and that's why people respond, is because it's difficult to understand and decipher all that. Sometimes it's even hard for us in the business to decipher what all is being said, to sift it down to a place so that it's understandable and people can make an informed decision.
Correct.
Yeah. So how do you see the future unfolding? And I have a blank there because people are interested and they think about different things when I ask that question. But tell us how you see the future unfolding in a particular element or part of life, business, whatever.
I can tell you that the seamless transaction is going to increase. The 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 nonverbal will increase and the verbal will decrease in transactional, not just insurance, but overall. And you're going to see that increase as time goes on. Maybe artificial intelligence will play a part there. I don't know where the live agent's going to fit in there, to be honest with you. From an agent perspective, like what we do, other businesses, I'm sure it's the same. The local worker at the factory, artificial intelligence and seamless, instantaneous product solutions are going to be on the forefront here in the next couple of years.
I think the transactional piece of that we're already in, because it's possible to do a lot of things through the computer, and which we don't always think of it that way, but that's what the cell phone is. It's a computer in our pocket, and more things can be done that way, including insurance transactions. But one of the things that we always talk about is you still need an advisor to answer those questions, to wade through the options and get to a place where you can make a decision. I don't know that that's going to change. How we do it is already changing, but it is a challenge to establish a relationship with someone that you don't see. That's different.
It is a challenge, but I do find that those people that want an advisor, they want a reinforcement of their decision or their options. Those that don't, the instantaneous AI platform interface, it suits them well because there's checks and balances in there. But the advisor, the relationship and the trust, and it's really the relationship, whether they see you or not, they want a relationship and I would say they want reinforcement that what they've decided is good and it will work for them.
Right.
And I still do that myself, just
Sure.
like you do on certain things.
Yeah.
When you go to the mechanic, I want to talk to the mechanic.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's true. Well, we're coming close to the end, so one of the things we always promise is a bottom line business tip. So now you've worn a lot of hats in your career.
I have.
We're talking about things that sound like only health insurance, but I happen to know that you started several years ago in the insurance business as a claims adjuster.
I did 5 years there.
And owned your own agency for a while that was like multi-lines.
Multi-line PNC.
Right. And then you've been in the life insurance world only for a while, in the Medicare insurance world only for a while.
Right.
So you've had this long place. So in some of those places, and a lot of those places, you were your own boss responsible for the bottom line. So if you tried to sift something out of that, what would you tell people that's listening that are running their business, big or small, and how do you affect that bottom line? What tip could you sift out of that and say, this is helpful?
Number one is you have to have a passion and enthusiasm about what you do. You can do something fairly well, but if you don't have a passion and enthusiasm, you will not, in my opinion, it won't succeed. You have to become an expert in what you do. You have to be able to be known or sought out that you know what you're doing and try to be the best, just like you were taught as growing up. Be the best you can be. And finally, you need to treat them like you want to be treated. You need to treat the people, and hopefully you want to be treated good. That's what it takes. You have to get back and treat the people honestly and fairly like you would want to be treated, like most people want to be treated, and do that in a way that is professional.
So we're when we talk about the bottom line, it encompasses many different pieces of business to get there, and what it sounds like you're saying is if you want to improve your bottom line, you got to have whoever your customer is coming back and spreading the good word about how you do your business.
Well, in my history, I I wouldn't say that I was enthusiastic about claims, maybe not even life per se, but Medicare I am, and I have found some success in that arena, and I have become as good as I think I could be. I'm still improving, still learning, but I have tried to become the expert. And I try to answer. I've tried to be able to answer most people's questions. I've gone through mistakes, and you learn through that. You learn through trials, and I also try to advise them the way I would advise either me or my father or my grandfather, grandmother, and let them make the decision. I don't try to make the decision for them, and I've found some success in that.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Well, we appreciate it, Chris. That's a wrap for today's Business Bottom Line podcast. Take that tip and make your bottom line turn from red to black. See you next time right here in the Jewel City of the Mountains, Greenville, Tennessee. This is the Stash saying we're here to inspire, inform, and improve your bottom line so you can grow, grow, grow.